Greetings to the Brain Gauge channel. This little video is about the Analysis app. So let's get right to it. And I'm going to show you the Analysis app on this screen over here. Now, one thing that you've got is that when you pull up your Analysis app, you'll see on the left-hand side, well, normally a number of subject IDs. In this demo, these are the demo account. We've got different things. I've chosen the healthy norm, a healthy person, individual who took the test over and over and over. So you can see the different scores. And so what you see here is overall, their overall history, and this is from April to July. And if you look at their first test, they did okay. And then you can either click on a certain date, and you see how these scores are changing. Now, some people prefer to look at, say, a radar plot, and the radar plot looks something like this. I generally stick with the bar chart. Now, a lot of people always want to know what these different values mean, and that's pretty straightforward how we do that. So first you click on speed a couple times, and well, the first time let's go back a minute. First time you click it, it just shows you the. Second time you click it, it gives you the definition. And it says speeds computed from reaction time and variability on the reaction time test. Now, if you want more information, you click on here, and that pulls up and applications page. Now let's drop back down. Oh, hang on a second. Let's drop back down to. Let's go back to our data viewing, and let's look at some other examples. Let's say we want to look at overall, say fairly flat during that time. But how do things change either acutely or chronically? Well, let's look at a chiropractic. In this case, you can also enter notes. So in this case, this person got an adjust scores, went from not so great to better, not so great to better. For some of you may not know, neck injuries often present as concussions. And so if CSF flow is restricted and a neck injury, if a chiropractor adjusts the neck injury, then people actually score a little bit better. And so that's basically, this is what that's an example of. Now let's take a look at, say, a concussion. And what happens here? So here, we had a concussion here. Then this person started testing here. And then at this point, they were cleared to return to play. And this clearance is not done by the brain gauge. Clearance is done by a physician who, can choose to use the brain gauge scores or not. In this case, they were actually looking at them. But a lot of people use these things just as additional information. And then over here, the player started complaining about headaches. He started having post-concussive symptoms, and he tested again and obviously did a little bit worse. So basically, that's one instance of a concussion. Let's look at another concussion. This one, pretty simple. Scores were pretty bad to start with, and then they improved significantly and returned to play in 2 weeks. It's the way a lot of stuff looks. But basically, this is all your scores: speed, accuracy, TOJ, timing, perception, plasticity, fatigue, focus. And again, fatigue is a little counterintuitive. 100% means you're not fatigued. And that's really just an evaluation of from beginning, how are you testing at the beginning of the test battery versus how are you testing at the end. If you get tired during a test, then it shows up as a fatigue score. Focus is how well can you stay on task, and that's a pretty important feature. Accuracy, you can think about that as short version of that. Short version of that is basically looking at the contrast knob. A contrast knob on an old black and white television. Old television when I was growing up had a little contrast knob, make the image sharper. That's your ability to make things in your brain, two inputs in your brain, sharper. Anyway, we'll talk about each of these different tasks individually in different videos. PPCS. Now that's post-concussion syndrome, and these cases were. This is where people had long-term concussion effects when they came to see a clinician, and they were treated. But but basically this tracks recovery. Let's see, what's another one? TBI, this is where concussion happened. That person didn't get well very well, but this person did. We looked at PTSD. Let's go back to overall score. PTSD, and you see how the person is tracking. But you also notice not all scores track the same way. So whereas one score may get a lot better over time, another score may actually get a little bit worse. It really just depends on what you're looking at. The best thing to look at when you're first starting out is the overall score. Some of the things that we've seen sensitivity to are things like diet. And here somebody started a diet, and in this case, I guess it was a gluten-free diet. They were gluten sensitive, and their scores got significantly better over time. Insomnia has an impact on some people. When you don't get much sleep, you can see right after not getting much sleep, but then after getting sleep, you do much better. So obviously, that kind of fatigue, short-term fatigue, does very, very well. A lot of these we'll be looking at. I'll be talking about in terms of case studies. Just some kinds an acute condition. This case, this was just over the matter of a couple of weeks. There's an acute subconcussive event in this person's and in this person. So just a very small event makes that person deviate very quickly. I'm not going to go into details about that particular study. Anyway, how do we use the app? We, basically this is where a clinician was tracking somebody and they didn't get really good results. And then they started a different type treatment and then that person got better. So the BrainGauge is a very useful tool for tracking progress, tracking response to treatment, tracking recovery. And this BrainGauge app is very powerful for showing people that. Anyway, let's stop sharing. And that's it for the data analysis app. Really, the best way to learn about it is start using it. And that's all for now.